Hey folks, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the dark moon today on December 30th. What I'm showing you here is an astrological chart for the exact moment of the new moon, 5:37 p.m. Eastern Time in Detroit. Now, you'll have to check for your own time zone and everything. And yes, this is set exactly for Detroit. The way to analyze this chart is not necessarily with the houses because they'll be different wherever you are. But let's look briefly at this. There's a couple of things to notice. A new moon means that the sun, right here, is conjoined with the moon. They're both in the sky in the same place. Now, if you were to look up there, what would you see? You'd see the sun. It would be blotting out and much brighter than the moon unless the moon is exactly lined up, and then you get a solar eclipse. I've only seen two of those in my lifetime. You have to be in the right place on the earth for it. But what's important about the dark moon here is that, yeah, it's kind of a new thing. It's a meme that's being generated, especially in the neo-pagan and Wiccan communities, that it's the second dark moon of the month. Why is that important? Well, it has nothing to do with nature, really, except that it's a new moon. The calendar is something we impose on nature, but here's the cool thing about it. If you think people have power in joining together, if you think several people praying or doing a working or thinking about things has more power than one person doing it, if we have a whole number of people getting together this evening or whenever this moon is happening and focusing in on their particular needs, we can join together and really shift some things. Now, there's a number of different things about moving and what our goals are supposed to be, but I wanted to talk just briefly about new moon rituals, why they're important, and how best to use them. Traditionally in astrology, the new moon was a time when you if you did something, you did it in secret because what's going on, the light is of the moon is being blocked out. So there's a secrecy aspect to it. So if you have a goal that you're starting with and you don't want other people to know about it, which is oftentimes a good idea, because have you ever tried to do something and you've had people shoot it down right away? Oh no, that'll never work. You've probably had it happen. It's good to do what the alchemists call keep your alembic, keep the thing that is cooking your process quiet and to yourself. And doing a working on the new moon is really great for that, especially if it's something that you don't want people to know that you're working on. It could be any kind of a new project. It could be something you don't want people to know will bear fruit in a while. But if you focus in today, when the sun and moon are together, okay, roughly within that hour period, you will be able to take charge of that energy along with hundreds, thousands of other people around the earth and bring your mind to that particular new beginning. Now, conventionally, a lot of people also do new moon rituals at the first sight of the new moon, once the moon has grown a little bit and it's in the light. Those rituals are good for things that you don't mind people knowing stuff about. And one of the traditions that I worked in, it was always done with what was called the heliacal new moon, where there's the faintest sliver. And that first sliver is essential in a lot of different calendars. For instance, in Islam, the month is started from the first sighting of that moon, and they go through quite a bit mathematically to make sure, when that's seen and what the circumstances are, and that sort of thing. Now, there's a lot to be said for this moon with what's the general atmosphere that the planets are doing here. A couple of things to notice. Yeah, Mars has been opposite of Pluto here for a while. It's moving retrograde. Mars is moving backwards and will be opposite Pluto again at some point. And right now we're kind of in that energy of Mars has moved forward, now it's moving backwards. And Mars and Pluto, well, Mars is the young god of war, the fiery young soldier, the athlete who's determined to do something. And Pluto, the best description of Pluto is a wet blanket over a hand grenade. You never know when it's going to go. Pluto has that kind of exploding energy to it. And we've certainly seen explosions of things recently in the news. There's been a number of airplane crashes and other unfortunate things, people rising up in different ways, and a very prominent murder that's happened. So, what do you do about this with the new moon and you're trying to do a working? Well, a couple of things to keep in mind. Mars energy and Pluto energy don't necessarily have to be bad. Okay? You can use Mars energy and its destructive force to bring about something positive. How do you do that? Well, say you're trying to do something about your wealth. Say you're trying to build wealth or you're going to start a new project. Well, use Mars to cut out the opposite, cut out poverty. Okay? You could use this energy to get rid of poverty and to bring in energy to bring about your new project. The new moon can be adapted in a number of different ways that way. Okay? Yeah, there are other planets doing other kinds of things. Saturn and Jupiter are in a very tight square kind of aspect. There's creative tension there. What does that say? Well, Jupiter is expansion and Saturn is constriction. What would be an image of that? Well, if you've ever made things in a pressure cooker, that can be one place where, yeah, the process goes quickly because it's under pressure and it's working hard and it's bringing that up. You can imagine and work with those energies of the pressure cooker of expansion, contraction, and maybe that you can imagine your goal bursting forth at some point when the pressure is released and it's done cooking. You want to work with these energies to be able to get them to fit with the times and what is going on in the sky at present. I once had something that indicated that I was maybe going to have an accident. I arranged to purposely have it. I had a very, very minor surgery occur on that day so that I was taking that energy of that cutting, accidental kind of change and had a very tiny minor surgery happen. And yeah, it went more or less okay. I did wind up with a minor infection though, so you never know how these things are going to move. One of my favorite stories was about one of the greatest living astrologers right now, and nobody would argue about this, named Robert Hand. He once looked at a woman's chart and saw terrible alcohol and suicide for the past year. To make a long story short, he asked her, "What have you been doing? How has your last year been?" And she said, "Oh, it's been great." Well, he was kind of thrown by this, and he says, "Well, tell me more." And she said, "Oh, I'm doing an off-Broadway play, and it's been wonderful for me." "Who are you depicting? What is it going on?" And she said, "It was the life of Judy Garland, who is rife with alcoholism and suicide." So what happens is you want to match the energies in the planets, in the stars at this point so that you can ride that wave. This woman naturally felt it happening and was able to work with that imagery and symbolism. Now, another interesting thing about this is there is a minor fixed star at 9 degrees of Capricorn. Actually, it's not even a fixed star. It's a cluster of stars or nebula. Now, it's connected with eyesight problems, violence, overreaction, but it's also connected with fearlessness, warlike skills, leadership abilities. So what could you do with that? Use this energy to be fearless, outspoken, okay? To do profound things, okay? To work on gaining some insight or to build up your sense of grit and strength. So imagine taking those energies and moving them towards your project today in this black moon. Have a good one. Use the energies. There goes my screensaver. Use the energies in the right way, folks. And I think you'll have a good time with this, along with all the other folks that are working this energy today. So will we have another black moon? Yeah, sometime. You know, will there be 2 new moons in the human-based calendar? Yes. Can we use that? Yeah, it's not a natural phenomena other than the new moon. But if we start to build this meme, if we start to build this energy, if we start to build this construction in a magical way, we can start to harvest this energy in each one of these times that we have a black moon in the future. We can build on this energy. It will have different aspects, okay? But as a secret, as a way of getting people together, we can start to harvest this energy and keep in with the cosmic forces and with the way that we see things and build things in our rituals. So good luck with all of that. Have a great black moon.